Hey everyone, it's Mekhi. Thank you so much for being back today. This is the first video I've done on YouTube. I've decided to go from Instagram to YouTube for my cooking. I feel it's a better platform where I can bring all my craft together in the kitchen. So today I'm going to teach you guys how to do a dessert that's loved all year round by all. Currently in Hawke's Bay, it's summertime, it's warm, and this dessert is to be eaten warm, but it's something enjoyed all year round, and it's been enjoyed for many years by many generations. It's a chocolate self-saucing pudding. You guys may love it, your parents will definitely know it, they'll love it, and your grandparents most certainly will love it. So it's not a recipe of my own, guys. Today we're going to be using the Edmonds Classics Cookbook for it, and it's one of the most classic recipes in the world, or in New Zealand for that matter, and it's one of my personal favourites. As well, it's not featured for today, but there is also a copy for chocolate self-saucing pudding in the Food for Flatters book. I don't know if these are still being produced, but for certain it'll talk about things such as cheese and dairy products, raising agents and flours like yeast and standard plain flour, spices, herbs, pretty much all the basics that you can. So it's not just about making food, it's also about learning how to use ingredients and how to operate in your kitchen. So many of these recipes are going to be your best friend when you're at university, when you are flatting, with whatever you're doing, when you are learning how to cook. And this, it doesn't just go for university students, it goes for families, it goes for anyone who just wants to learn, anyone who is learning, or anyone who already knows. So it truly is one of the best things that you will find out there. Now, there is a recipe for a chocolate self-saucing pudding in the Food for Flatters. I'm not going to use it, as that one is for a microwave. Many students still don't have ovens, but they do have a microwave. So that is something that is going to be great for students, and I will do a segment for microwave food, but today we're going to be using the oven, so therefore I'm going to use Edmonds Classics Cookbook. Also, just before I get started in cooking, I can't tell you how good these two books are. This book's called The World's Easiest Recipes, written by Linda Duncan. She is based in Taupo. I picked this up when I was about 13 years old at the local Taupo market in Taupo Domain. It was one of the best purchases I ever made. So she also teaches a lot, and the recipes are so simple, so basic, so easy to follow that anyone could pick it up and they could know exactly what to do with it. Without further ado, let's get cooking with this chocolate self-saucing pudding. So you're going to want, you want 100 grams of butter, measure that on some scales, and you're going to put it in the microwave just for about 15 seconds. And that just softens it, but you don't want your butter melted. So mine being a tough microwave, I have to use 20 seconds on the microwave and stop it when it gets to 5 seconds. Some of you have some fancy microwaves that will just immediately stop at 15 if you're able to put that in. But just whilst that's being softened, you're also going to want to preheat your oven to 180 degrees. 180 to 220 degrees is the general area. Set your oven to bake, and around that is anything that you're doing baking wise, unless it's something delicate or something that really needs to be cooked at high heat. It's around the range of 180 to 220 degrees Celsius for temperature. You'll find that in most recipes involved in baking, and for this one we're at 180 degrees. So now that butter it's probably a bit too melted that I've done, but that really doesn't matter because it's all being combined together. And what we're going to do is we're going to put that in there in the bowl, and we are going to beat it together. Always get a spatula, because there's always excess butter or products that can stick to the side of the bowl. You're just going to want to get them all off the side and use absolutely everything that you've got. Don't want to waste any ingredients. Also, I forgot to mention that this recipe is incredibly affordable. It's just your basics at home, it's throw together. It's one of the simplest things that you can do. It makes for an enjoyable dessert that you can just whip up any night, no matter if you feel like it or not. It's always going to be loved your flatmates or those that you live with are just going to be incredibly happy that you've done this for them. So then you're going to put 3/4 cup of caster sugar in with that. So what I tend to do is when you can just find your 1/4 cup. Some of you like to do it a bit, I just like to do it quite simply, just 1/4, 3 of those, do it in there. That just makes it a lot easier, so there's no confusion in measuring. And there we are. I love these jars. Just feels like you don't have to put all the brands on them. You can just put it into the jars. So that's where you can store a lot of your baking items. And I'm really glad they're all just behind me today. So you're also going to get 1 egg. It's going to go in with the butter and sugar together. You're also going to want a teaspoon of vanilla essence, but I just do about a capful. It's just Queen organic vanilla extract for everyday baking, and I just tend to use a capful in my recipes. It just makes for an easier, less dishes, and you can just throw it in there almost straight away. So now that that's all together, what we got to do is we got to beat that all together. Make sure in this process that you get everything off the sides, and you just make sure it's all well combined together for this golden texture. And it looks lovely. It's looking a bit white there, but that looks great. So that's about the consistency that you're going to want to get it to. You're not mixing it all together completely. Always make sure to get majority of that you can off the blades of your mixer. That's if you are using a mixer. You can also use a whisk or spoon for that matter. But it's easier just if you can get an electric beater. But many of you don't, so that's gonna require a lot of mixing with a spoon. So in another bowl, you're going to sift flour, baking powder and a first measure of cocoa together. This is just following the Edmonds recipe here. So we're going to get 1 1/4 cups of Edmonds standard grade flour and 2 teaspoons of baking powder. We're going to just sift it into a bowl. Do not put it in with the wet mix. You want the dry mix first because you're going to fold that all together. And always make sure you've got measuring cups in the kitchen because they are a lifesaver. Also, if you're like me and struggle to get the exact amount in, then I'll teach you a trick in a moment. And yes, I will be dropping everything. There's no doubt about that. So together, you just take the back end of a butter knife and hold it over it. Many of you might do this in a bowl, but just lightly run it over the top, run the excess in, and that way you can equally measure it all evenly. So that's 1 1/4 cups is what we want in terms of flour. Don't forget that knife again. But you want a tablespoon of cocoa powder. And in that recipe, this is the first measure of cocoa powder that you're going to want. So I'm going to do the cocoa first, and then I'm going to do the baking powder. That's a tablespoon of cocoa. And again, with anything, just use that knife just to get an even measurement. And cocoa is a bit crumbly, don't really matter. Majority of it's there, if not more. So we do that, and we do 2 teaspoons of Edmonds baking powder. Now, some of you may have a dessert spoon. You want a teaspoon. So make sure, don't get the mix up. DSP versus TSP can be if you don't look properly, you can get confused sometimes and end up measuring incorrectly. So you want 2 teaspoons of the baking powder together, and this is the dry mix. Now I get to another bit where you get a lot of those granules of that cocoa in the bottom. So what I like to do is I like to take a teaspoon and that just runs it all through, that just strains it all through, making sure that you use all of what you had measured. Making sure you get equal measurements. Even though it's not much, it goes a long way in these recipes. So what we're going to do, I have gotten a spout spoon, but I'm going to use a spatula again, because what you're going to do is you're going to fold the dry mix, and I'm just going to give that a bit of a mix up, combine that all together, and just make sure it's all well mixed before you're going to do this into the wet mix. And don't mix it into this, you have to fold it. It's a delicate mixture just to put it all together. And if you've ever got a dry mix on the side of the bowl, flour or anything, the simplest thing you can do is just tap the side of the bowl, and that just gets majority of the excess. Otherwise you might have to do a little bit of a scraping with the spoon. And that just makes sure you're using everything, make sure very little is wasted. So you're going to do the dry mix into the beaten mixture. And this time I'm actually going to use the spout here. And a folding is just a rhythm like this with the spoon. Just folding that dry mix and it's combining it together. So as well, this will come out looking a bit dry. Don't worry, because we're going to have hot water on it soon, so it will get moist by the time we make the chocolate sauce. That will go all the way through to the bottom of the pudding. Don't worry, it's not going to be dry. I know it may not look like much, but trust me, it does go a long way in the oven. This pudding rises. The first time I made this, I didn't use a deep enough dish, so I got a bit overwhelmed when I found out that it was nearly starting to overflow and why the sauce wasn't going through the bottom. But learning from that, you need a deep dish. So now that that's well combined, very clearly, it almost has, certainly not got the consistency of it, but it certainly, to look at, looks a lot like icing. So just going to throw this, and don't be afraid to have a messy bench. I love having a messy bench when cooking. It almost shows that you've achieved something in the kitchen, like a sense of accomplishment when you get to wipe the bench down at the end. So, in terms of a dish, you're going to want something like this. I cook peach cobblers in here, but this is something you can just use for about anything really. I've cooked parmesan chicken in there, but today it's going to be used for a chocolate self-saucing pudding. What we're going to do is that excess butter that's just been left, that little bit that's just been left in the bottom of the butter bowl, we're still going to use it. We're going to get one of those paper handy towels from your kitchen, and let's take it all off that spatula, and also the rest that is in the bowl. Get it all buttery, get it looking yellow, and this is going to be used to grease the dish that we use in the oven. So it's just quite simply rub it all over there. I love to use butter. You can use oil, but I always, with baking, would recommend using butter for baking. So now that that's nice and greased, you don't have to use absolutely every bit, but just enough that you can see that glaze on there. So now what we are going to do is simply spoon this mixture into that greased oven dish. I'm just going to spread it along. I am going to use the spatula for a bit. For the most part, I can just get it all out. Now, I might have used a dish that is a bit big here, but it does mean it's going to spread evenly, it's going to cook evenly, and it's going to end up being delicious. You're going to want to make sure it's spread evenly, so that with a rubber, sometimes it does provide it to be a bit tough, so sometimes you may have to go back to using that spout and just really trying to get it even. So it may take a while, but no, you're going to end up with something good. Just make sure, get it into the edges here and just smooth it down nicely, and look, just as I've done that, I've got even a bit on there. So just making sure we use it all, don't waste any, and we've also got some still in the dish, so we're going to take it all using that spatula. Sometimes you can just, you don't want to pull it over, but you can just sort of pat down with that spatula, just to pat it down, make it a lot more smoother, a lot more even. It may not go the full way, but this is going to be turned upside down, put onto a dish, and the sauce will all run out once we open it. So now we're going to create the sauce. So you will need some brown sugar, the corn flour, and a second measure of 2 tablespoons of cocoa powder. I'm just going to use that bowl. It doesn't have to be a massive bowl, but you're going to want half a cup of brown sugar to first go in. Brown sugar is one of my favourite things in the kitchen. It's actually sugar and a bit of molasses. So it is very sweet, but it's delicious. So brown sugar. And for corn flour, you're going to want 1 tablespoon. So what I'm going to do, so this cocoa doesn't go in, first of all I'm going to measure the cocoa into it. So that is 2 tablespoons. So we measure that first as we use a tablespoon last before, and we're just going to give it a little rinse under there, and then we can go back to the corn flour, and we just want a tablespoon. Corn flour uses to thicken, so it's not very runny. And sometimes you will just have to make sure you have clean hands. Get the rest of the corn flour out and in. This time I'm just going to use a soup spoon or a dessert spoon, just can be used, and it's just combining it all together, breaking up that brown sugar so it doesn't stick together. And we are going to just combine that all together. So sometimes you will get those lumps just in there of the brown sugar. Just pat to the side, bring them to the side of the bowl, pat them, make sure they really get patted down, because you're going to want to make it look like a bit of a coarse powder of all the ingredients in here combined together. And because it's going to be dissolved with boiling water, we're actually going to boil some water in the jug. You will need 2 cups of boiling water for this. So now that that jug is boiling, we will continue just getting together the powder-like and combine together. Get it as powder-like as you can. So this is sort of what you're wanting. This texture here, its consistency, and what we're going to do is we will sprinkle this over the batter in the oven dish, just like this. There will be some more. I guess it looks a bit like Milo. That's how I can compare it to. There may be a few little areas. I will just grab those. I will just repat those over if I haven't gotten the rest of them. But yeah, you want it to the consistency, you want it to look like Milo powder when you are doing this. Simply just make sure it's all covered, make sure it's quite even, but there will be a lot to go around, to go over. Okay, so now you can even, if it's just a bit uneven, you can almost just spread it out with that spoon. And because this spoon is going to be used again, and we are going to pour hot boiling water, 2 cups of it, over our pudding, and this will be the final step before it's going to go in the oven. So you're going to need 2 cups, so get your measuring cup there for 1 cup, and you're going to use 2 of those for the boiling water. Now it is just still boiling, it's just finishing boiling, so just going to make sure it is all covered at the moment, and we're going to use it all whilst we are cooking. So it almost looks like you're making a Milo pudding. So now that that water is just nearly boiled, we're going to use it. So now that that's finally boiled, hold it over that same bowl. Make sure not to burn yourself in this step, take extreme care, and There should be a spout side to it. Make sure you use the spout side when pouring it out. But you're going to pour it over the back of the spoon and onto the dessert, and this is going to make it, try and make it even, and you're going to use 2 cups of it as you're doing this. So it will all work together. Don't do it too quickly, otherwise you can expose areas and leave them without any underside and exposed. It may seem like a lot, and you've got to do this step very slowly, and this is creating that sauce that will seep right through the bottom of the pudding, and that's how it's going to self-sauce. So whilst it's all dissolved there, we're going to use another cup. We need to make a good sauce with this, and that requires 2 cups, and always do it the same way. Even though it's all dissolved, you must always use the same method of pouring it over the spoon rather evenly. Be careful not to burn yourself, because boiling water, trust me, it is not fun when you burn your finger. Let alone, or if you're out and someone makes a coffee or a hot chocolate too hot, and you always have that scratchy feeling after a burn in your tongue. It's terrible. Okay, but now that it's in a deep dish, we are going to go, this is going right to the oven now, and that is going to be baking for 35 minutes. You might have to take it out a bit earlier if it springs back when lightly touched, but for around 35 minutes you're going to want to put it in the oven. So, there's Edmonds self-saucing chocolate pudding for you guys right there. So, thank you so much for being in my first video today, and it's been a privilege to be on YouTube now. I want this to be not just about me, but about all of you. Not just young people, but about sharing this skill with everyone. And if you ever want to do a collab, please don't hesitate to give me a message on Instagram. I'd be happy to hear from you, see if you want to come on, do some cooking, share some knowledge about food. Don't forget to like, subscribe. Kia ora.